Hello and welcome to Talk Ag to Me, the podcast dedicated to improving ag literacy around the globe. I'm your host, Brennan Black, and happy Valentine's Day, or happy weekend, or whatever you're celebrating. This episode is going to be all about the 2020 World Ag Expo. Yes, it is that time of year again, and we just got it done with the week of the expo, and we got through all of the, hijinks that ensued along the way, and unfortunately, for this year, I didn't get really all that much coverage at the expo. I mean, I got enough. I got definitely an episode's worth, but it really wasn't as adequate as it was last year because I just did not have the time to make it out this year. I mean, I was there every day for maybe an hour or two at a time, but I just really could not be there as much as I wanted to be. Between work and school and other responsibilities I just had to take a lot more time away from the expo than I would have preferred to. So instead of having, a new episode every day of the week like I did last year, having, 40 some odd interviews done. This time I got a decent amount of interviews done. I got some new ones, got some old ones, some really great information, some really great people on there. I'm definitely a lot more satisfied with these interviews than I thought I was going to be, having not had the time I would have preferred to have with them, but it was definitely a useful week in and of itself. I got a lot done while it was crazy busy. I didn't get, the coverage I would have liked to get, in terms of just the abundance of interviews that I could have had. I got a good amount of coverage in terms of the quality of the interviews that I received. I didn't get to cover the education booth really at all. I didn't get to cover some of the other booths or buildings I wanted to cover, but it's okay. I got some really good ones. I got some good interviews from last year, and kind of, so just as an example, Field In was one of the first companies I interviewed last year, and I came back and interviewed them again this year, and they had grown quite a bit since last year. A lot of their technology and programs had evolved and advanced way beyond what they had last year. They almost went in a completely different direction than where they were going last year. I mean, obviously in the same aspect of monitoring fields and applications, but almost to a completely different level than what they were even doing last year. So it was really cool to see the evolution of a lot of the different companies coming back and seeing everyone just grown and changed as people and as businesses was really interesting to see. So I got some good interviews, got some good information. The big thing this year with World Ag Expo, kind of the sore thumb, if you will, not that they really were a negative thing, but just they kind of stuck out in a way that caught a lot of different attendees and exhibitors' attention, was the hemp village, or the new addition of hemp to the agricultural industry showcase. So there was a lot of people there exhibiting their production practices with hemp, and so because of that, a lot of people were hesitant to trust them right away. They weren't really sure how to take these people. So I brought it upon myself to go and find out. I went to the hemp village. I talked to some people, got some incredibly good information. There's an interview in here that I'm super excited for you guys to hear, and it's got so much good and valuable information on the hemp industry, and it definitely helped me kind of open my eyes as to what this industry has in store for us. I'm really excited about it, and I think that a lot of people kind of took it in the wrong direction initially, myself included, and it's definitely not something to reject or to ignore in any way possible. So hope you guys enjoy the interviews. As usual, we have the My Job Depends on Ag interviews, the container canopies, all the different companies that just have been so helpful and so great over the past few years, and just very supportive of the podcast and all the things I've been doing. We got a lot of good information out there, so make sure you guys watch it all the way through, give your feedback. I appreciate each and every one of you and everything that you have to contribute to this community. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy the interviews, and I'll catch you next week. Quick note before we get back into the episode. I was having some microphone difficulties pretty much all day, and I thought that I could fix some of those issues with editing, and I tried, and I can't make it sound smooth and natural enough to make it fit into the episode, just because of how the crowd fits in with the sound of the natural audio. So it's difficult to make it sound authentic and still audible. So just kind of bear with the episode. Try to listen a little bit closer on the parts where I'm asking questions. I could put subtitles up, but I'm also hoping to post this on places where there's no video, so it's gonna be a little bit more difficult for that aspect of things. So just kind of pay close attention to the questions I'm asking. Most of the time, whenever they answer the question, it's kind of clear what I was asking of them. But just kind of keep that in mind. I apologize for the audio issues. Like I said, I was having some microphone difficulties. I ran into some complications that I'm hoping will be fixed by the next time I do something like this. But it happens. It's technology. You can't predict everything it does. So without further ado, let's get back into the episode though. So as you guys can see, this is the third and final day here at the farm show. So it's not quite 9 o'clock yet, so the grounds aren't open to the public. So there's got to be a lot less people here for a little while, but here pretty soon there's going to be a bunch of people just kind of flooding in here. A lot of these exhibitors are kind of just walking around getting their booths ready for the day, making sure that they're all, fired up and ready to go. You can see over here there's a big old wind turbine way back there, which is really cool. You don't see a whole lot of wind and energy here in the valley, but it's really cool to see that they're exhibiting that kind of technology, and just seeing all the different types of ag that get exhibited here is just really, really interesting. So like I said, the exhibitors are kind of just hanging out for right now, waiting for the day to start, waiting for all the different attendees to show up and check out all the exhibits here at the farm show. But yeah, so I'll update you guys more as more people show up and as we're able to get into more booths and that sort of thing. Can't really do any interviews until more people are ready to go, so I'll probably just grab a donut from the exhibitor hall and just kind of hang out until it's showtime. So here we are at the Field and Tech booth here at the Cortiva building. I can get your name, I'm sorry.
Sam Looper.
So Sam Looper's here to talk to us about Field In and about what they've been working on over the past year. If you guys remember last year, I did an interview with one of their members as well, and they gave us a whole rundown of what it is that they do. And they've evolved quite a bit from last year, so Sam's going to tell us a little bit about what that involves.
Yeah, so since the World Ag Expo last year, we started with just our smart spraying, and since then we've expanded drastically in our company, in our size, and our technology, and the benefits that we're providing to growers every single day out in the field. And so since then we've brought in our smart harvesting and our smart cultural practices. And this is where we're really seeing growers start to expand and being able to find the ROI even faster with the software. Basically in the smart harvesting side, we're able to break down to just that tree level. And we're able to compare those operators and make sure that they're hitting that golden standard for your operation, making sure that they're shaking those trees at the exact seconds that you want them to be shaking it, giving you those real-time alerts if they're not, so that we can fix the problems, making sure that we're capturing our entire yield this year and protecting the yield next year. And that also includes inside money shaking as well with our harvesting platforms. And on our harvesting platform, we use our sweeping, and we can capture your guys' sweepers out in the field. We can also get weights and see what you guys are doing. In our smart cultural practices, we're able to see everything else that's taking place in the operation year-round. And so since last year, Field In has really become the year-round technology solution to capture that data for the entire operation farm, from harvest to spray, and now that cultural piece. And so we're going in and we're seeing what you're doing when you're disking, when you're mowing, and we're making sure that those speeds, so if you have a dust control policy in your operation, we're able to make sure that all of our drivers are meeting that policy and going at a certain speed, but also being efficient on that job. And so we can break it down to those drivers. We can see two drivers going next to each other and seeing what they're accomplishing each day. And so if we have one driver at that golden standard and they're hitting 70-80% efficiencies every day out in the field, and we have the one driver that's only going 40-45%, we're able to see what that other driver is doing. We're able to capture that in and see how we can improve that driver, so we can save that labor and we're not looking constantly for a new guy, but we can improve the other guy inside that operation to have that ROI and that secure employee and make sure that we're having the most efficient farm as possible.
Awesome. Well, that's definitely a lot of interesting information. So I was actually talking to another member of your team, and he was telling me that you guys almost like create an incentive to work harder by being able to monitor each worker and their progress in the tasks that they're doing. Have you seen any major changes in how different agricultural businesses are running their practices now that they're able to monitor these types of changes?
Definitely. We're working with a grower that saw the benefit in here, and he was actually able to finish harvest 2 weeks early this year.
Wow.
Because he bumped up his efficiency with all of the shakers and his sweepers. And so with that, he got to go and take a quick vacation before the next harvest season started in 2 weeks for him. And so with that, he incentivized his drivers and said, if you guys can hit a 75% efficiency every day for harvest, I'm going to give you guys a small bonus. Whether that means a $20 gift card or an extra money in their paycheck.
That's
that
awesome.
$20 was easy for him to give those guys that $50 gift card, because he was able to end that harvest 2 weeks early and be able to be more efficient on the farm. Less hours on those equipment maybe, and less hours in employees as well. And so that's what we've really seen, is that growers are starting to use this system and incentivizing guys because we're getting that efficiency so high. They're ending those practices even earlier now. They're having more free time, and they're able to get their guys through that job even quicker.
I'm sure that makes those farmers happy too, to have a little extra spare time.
Definitely.
So have you guys seen any major competition in your field of the agricultural industry? And if so, So how are you guys different that it's kind of making you, the top of the line?
Yeah, so we definitely see the competition out there, and there are solutions out there that can do some of the things that we do. But the hardest part that another company doesn't have with us is that we offer the entire control center here, and we're constantly adapting. We have that in-house data team. So when there's a problem or you want something to add into your system, we have that data team in-house, and sometimes in 2 weeks we're able to kick out that whole new procedure and that whole new data set for you to get that customized report to be where you want it, so it's the best and most efficient data for your operation. Another thing that sets us apart from other competition is our grower support team. So now we've grown drastically in the last year. We've probably doubled in employees now, picked somewhere over 80 now across the U.S. and around the world. And so now we've expanded, and so we have that install team, and so our install team is able to get this equipment installed even quicker, so we can start capturing that data as fast as possible. And we have our grower support team that works year-round with that grower to make sure that those reports are customized. We make sure that the software is working at all times correctly for that operation, and troubleshooting any problems that might be out there. We're working directly with that grower to make sure that we are providing them the best data and be the most efficient for them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the interview. Is there anything else you want to add?
Just check us out at fieldin.com, and we're always hiring too as we continue to grow.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the interview.
All right, thanks for the interview.
Thank you. So we got done with our field in interview, and we're kind of making our way over here. So you can see behind me there's the Hemp Village tent over here. That's kind of the new attraction here at the World Ag Expo this year. They're all focused on this new hemp production because that's kind of the new thing in ag, I guess. So we're going to go over there and see if we can get some more information on it, because quite personally, I know next to nothing about hemp. So we're going to try to see if we can find someone that can kind of give us the lowdown on what's really going on in the hemp production industry, where it's headed, what's going through right now, and kind of what the advantage is to growing hemp in the Central Valley. So let's see what we can find. We're gonna make our way over here to the Hemp Village and see maybe somebody can kind of give us the breakdown of what's going on with this stuff. I mean, I know that they use it in like animal feed, they use it for all kinds of different byproduct stuff. I'm not exactly sure what the production side of it looks like, so we're gonna see if we can find someone to give us some good information on it.
Really kind of, again, we come from education, we come from the original cannabis, we come from a background in information giving. This industry is a really, really great opportunity in the fact that it's reinvigorating farmers at new farming practices. That's the number one thing it can really focus on, because it's such a new crop, because it's generally harvested differently, taken care of differently, dried differently, taken as a commodity differently. Farmers are open to new practices, and that gives us a chance as an organic fertilizer company who comes from that sort of world to teach them about sustainable farming practices, use of organic fertilizers, use of biological inoculants and things of that nature to assist them in farming. And that's really kind of shifting the ideal of agriculture as a whole. If it becomes more, catches on more, farmers get used to doing things that way, it can be applied to multiple different forms of agriculture. And that again is the cool part about hemp, is because it can be harvested, you can harvest it like a grain. You can harvest it like biomass, like wheat or things of that nature. You can harvest it for CBD flower and treat it like tobacco, where you're really hand curing and chopping at the bottom and hang drying and going for that real high quality. So really, almost no matter how you know how to farm, there's a way that you can farm hemp that'll be a semi-easy transition. There'll be some things you'll have to learn, some new things you'll have to implement and things of that nature. But it's a very easy shift in a short window for change.
So it sounds like to me is kind of the reason that hemp is blowing up so much in terms of why everyone's starting to grow it now. It's because it's more of a versatile crop in terms of its use and its practices. It's a lot easier for a lot of new farmers to kind of come in and just get started on it kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, the next part to come on is the processing of that material. We can get all the biomass and all the fiber and all the grain and all this fantastic material out there, but in order to get it to where the consumer can actually appreciate it, utilize it, make it a part of their daily life, that processing and the secondary processing really needs to sort of catch on. It's the next thing that's on the way. I don't want to see too many farmers. I got 1,000 acres. I'm going to do 1,000 acres in whatever I'm doing. Start small. Start with 10 acres. Start with 5 acres. Something where you can get a manageable idea of how the crop's going to respond to your environmental conditions, to the way you irrigate, to just you in general. And at the end of the season, it'll give you an idea of what's it like to harvest, what's it like to cure it, what's it like to dry it, and then what's your local marketplace like right after that. Again, we don't want to do too far into it too early, because we got customers from 2016 that still are sitting on biomass, and we don't want that to happen. So our job is not only to again educate about what's going on, but if you look like you're getting a little bit too much over your head, we want to sort of reel it back a little bit, buddy. Kind of get them more into realistic things so they don't go over their head and they end up where they can't make money.
So in that regard, do you see a lot of that happening with like new farmers, younger farmers who are just trying hemp for the first time? You see them kind of getting over their head a lot, just kind of
More often than not, yes. And it's not because they shouldn't be doing it at all. It's because they go too big too quick. You know what I mean? It generally gets to the point where you think you kind of forget about a step along the way. You can get your plant all the way from seed, through your irrigation, your nutrition, and then your harvesting. But if you don't have just drying figured out, that can throw everything all to holy hell. Even after you dry it, if you don't store it properly before it goes to extraction, that can degrade the material. And if I don't have enough warehouse space to store it, I don't have enough this to store it, I don't got the right machinery to do the job. Oftentimes, if you don't go through a whole cycle and kind of get it from seed to the full sale, you'll miss something in your planning more often than not. And if you go too big too quick, that you've sunk your entire operation because you missed on one little detail. And again, we don't want that to happen.
Right, exactly. So do you think that hemp, because it has such a different style and with the whole drying process, with there's multiple steps that some farmers tend to miss, do you see the introduction of hemp to the agricultural industry impacting the way we study like soil science, crop science, crop production?
Absolutely. Hemp is a really, really responsive crop. It responds to environmental stressors. It responds to nutrient differentiations. It responds to fluctuations in pH values, moisture content, again, all types of environmental conditions, vapor pressure deficit and barometric pressure in the air, altitude, all these different things can change the way that the cannabis plant responds in particular, and it's translatable because you can take the same gene and the same everything and put it in here and here and here and here and here, and it may grow very differently in all of those regions. And reporting that back to the breeder, to the State Department, to your certifying agencies, gives them more information to let them sort of know, like, hey, this is a little unrealistic to think that this is an acceptable expectation, or we underestimated how much material was going to come. We way overestimated how much material was going to come in. We way misrepresented the quality of the material that we were going to be receiving, and it threw off our whole business plan. So reporting those types of things can sort of give the agriculture industry as a whole a better understanding of how different environments react to this plant in particular, and thusly other plants as well.
Interesting. So do you see an advantage in growing hemp over some of the more traditional crops we grow here in the valley, for example?
At least trying it, absolutely. I don't care if you're farming citrus, I don't care if you're farming nuts, or if you're traditional ag, corn, soybeans, hay, that type of stuff. Try it. Try it in your region, because you may have perfect growing conditions for a certain strain that can do something that nowhere else in the United States can do, and especially here in the valley where you've got these higher elevated temperatures, but your humidity's low enough where you're not fighting against mold and mildew issues, you're not fighting against a lot of the pest pressures that other regions of the United States can be fighting against. So again, if you've got a certain strain that's just a real big bulky yielder, but in other regions it doesn't grow very well because it takes a longer growing season, or it takes it has too much pest pressure, so it never gets to its full potential and full maturity. So absolutely, man, I don't care where you're at. Try an acre, try 10 plants in your backyard, for crying out loud. Just try something, because again, if you've been getting your butt kicked by whatever you've been doing, if your margins are shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, the expansion of this industry and the potential for it to be extremely, extremely profitable in this short window that we've got here, you've got to strike while the iron's hot, and give yourself an idea of whether or not it's for you or not.
Right. So do you see, I noticed that a lot of, even people here I've talked to, a lot of people are kind of unsure of hemp as a product. They're not really sure what it's used for. They're not really sure what the purposes they're growing it.
Right.
Would you mind just kind of going over, briefly some of the things that hemp has been used for recently? I know that we talked about animal feed, but some of the other things that have been more frequent in hemp's use.
There's a whole bunch of things. On the medicinal side, there's all the different cannabinoids. There's your CBDs and CBN, CBL, CBC, CBV, all that different type of stuff that can provide medicinal benefits. So there's the medical portion of it. There's like we talked about, the animal feed. There's, hemp hearts and hemp seeds have a higher nutrient density and a higher protein content per gram than a T-bone steak, alfalfa, all your traditional animal feeds. As a per unit, it is an extremely nutrient and protein dense material. So that is again a step above what we're used to. And then you can go back to, our industrial hemp is good for clothing, for building materials, especially, getting rid of traditional plywood and traditional forestry practices and swapping over to a hemp-based product. Insulation, hempcrete, the surfboard fins and all different types of polymers and plastics. The technologies come in there where the diversity of this crop is almost limitless. Too many people think hemp, they think CBD. And CBD is the tiniest point of the largest iceberg you've ever seen. There's just an infinite use of this thing. Almost anything that we can build outside of metallic things, and even then, hemp is a really good sequester of graphene. So if graphene is one of the strongest metals on the planet. So if we can, utilize that, we can get rid of, your traditional stainless steel and all this other stuff that, we see all over the place and in all these other industries. So it's really has the potential to supersede most other industries. The reason it was outlawed way back in the day is because the cotton industry was feeling the pressure, and all these the lumber industry was feeling the pressure, and they implemented legislation to quell the hemp based on, reefer madness. It's gonna, you're gonna rape and kill your children and all this stuff, which is total BS, obviously. But hemp has been around since Egyptian times, for crying out loud. It's been around forever for a reason. Hemp and the human beings, we have an internal cannabinoid system for a reason, because we've been exposed to and handling this plant since our very origins as a species. So if we can get back to that, refocus that and get it back to where it should have been when we outlawed it years ago, we've got a really big potential to not only change the way that, again, forestry practices, terrible for destroying ozone and, destroying animal life and things of that nature with deforestation. If we can eliminate all of those types of things, we can start to rebuild. We can rebuild soils. We can rejuvenate and rebuild entire ecosystems, because we're not destroying them for these other means of product that hemp can sort of replace.
Okay. So it sounds like hemp's got a pretty bright future in the agriculture industry.
Damn right it does.
Absolutely. So my last question would be, for a lot of, you said it right in your last answer, hemp is usually associated with CBD, and
yes.
Because of that reason, a lot of, especially new farmers, or not new farmers, older farmers are kind of hesitant to trust it as a practice. What would you say to new farmers, new consumers, or old farmers alike, anyone who's hesitant to trust this product?
Well, again, there's a large idea that there's all the CBD in the world's already been produced. Nobody needs to produce anymore, and that is really not true. It's very, like I said, the regional markets, the local markets, the local guy who's making the hand cream down the street, you know what I mean? He'd probably rather not get his stuff from, Bangor, Maine, if he can help it. He'd rather get it from a local source, so he doesn't have to transport it halfway across the U.S. So yes, there are satiations in some market. Yes, there is some hesitance in a lot of farmers say, hey man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell it. I don't even know if I want to get into it. And that's why we encourage them to find an end user who has a very particular need for hemp and grow and cater your grow specifically for their needs, whether it be a fiber, whether it be a grain, whether it be CBD biomass. If it's CBD biomass, if it goes below the certain percentage, I'm not going to buy it. That's a deal breaker. If it gets seeded, I won't buy it. That's a deal breaker. Know that and tailor your grow to that specifically. So that way at the end of the season, he doesn't have to go to Joe Blow Schmo from down the street. He's been working with you the whole season. He knows you've been in communication the whole season. He knows how the grow's going. He knows what to expect, more towards the end of the year. And that's the easiest way to find good relationships and build good rapport so that you can find consistent success in the future without having to worry about striking gold real fast and getting out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, I appreciate all of your helpful information. Like I said,
absolutely.
Coming in here, a lot of people are kind of, unsure about the hemp industry. They're not really sure what it means for agriculture or what its role is in agriculture as a whole. So I was really looking for, for myself and for my audience and for other people, just, more information on the industry, what we can expect from it, what we can kind of benefit from it as a whole, just, in terms of how our industry can benefit from having the hemp industry as part of us. And so you guys provide pretty much the perfect explanation of every question I could have asked for.
Thank you. Yeah, man. Last statement I want to say is for your people out there, if you're interested, you're thinking about it, educate yourself. Ask, and don't find the first person who's going to confirm what you thought. Try and find contradictory evidence. Try and find evidence to the contrary. Listen to. Told ourselves, but listen to somebody like us who's not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to give it to you straight, man. I had a guy earlier today who walks up. He's like, "I got 20 acres. I want to make $100,000 this year. Tell me how." And I told him, I'm not going to. I will not guarantee in any way, shape, or form what you do that you're going to guarantee to make $100,000 off of your 20 acres this year. So, find people who are reasonable, find people who are legitimate, educate yourself, ask as many questions. There's no stupid question. It's a brand new industry. Treat it as such. Get out there, get excited, and get educated.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you again.
No problem, brother. Kyle.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, so we just got done with our interview with the Hemp Village, and we got a good amount of information about the whole industry, and it's kind of interesting to hear all the exciting things that they're bringing to the table for the agricultural industry. I know that a lot of people in the ag industry are usually hesitant to accept new members of our community, especially with hemp, because it's such a new practice for our version of agriculture here in the Central Valley. But I think that people have nothing to worry about. It's a great product, and it's something that needs to be accepted as kind of the future of agriculture, really. I think that there are still things to learn about it. I definitely don't know everything about it, and just based off of what that guy told me, I think that he had a lot of information. I'm really glad we were able to get a good interview about someone who really, really knows their stuff and cares about the product. And so it was a really interesting interview, and I hope to learn more about the industry that is kind of new to our family, but it was a good one. I hope you guys enjoy it as well. Alright, so we're here once again at the Container Canopies booth, and as anyone who's seen any of my podcasts know, these guys are very close, near and dear to my heart, as last year they were kind of took me in, let me hang out in their tent when it was raining and stuff, and they gave me good interviews and good information, good people to talk to. So I had to come back again because they've made some changes since last year, and they've evolved quite a bit as a company, grown as people. Haven't we all? So it's nice to be here again. I've got Declan, one of the co-founders of Container Canopies, so he's going to tell us a little bit about the company.
Yeah, thanks. So that's what we get for keeping you dry last year. Came back to say hello. Yeah, the company's been doing pretty good. For the last year, we've overcome some design concerns. We've improved the quality of the fabric. We've made it thicker. We've put an acrylic clear coating on it, kind of self-cleans now. The PVC has a tendency to absorb particulates, so we got rid of that problem. We've brought in a bigger size now. We've got a 60-foot wide, which is a double truss. It's got a very high wind load at 120 miles an hour. This one is rated to 105. One of the things that is always a concern is while this is considered completely portable, there is a higher, visibility from the prevailing authorities in cities and counties about what people are doing with temporary structures. The conversions and modifications on containers has become more mainstream, so they're taking a higher or a more scrutinizing look at what people are doing with them. So as a result of that, we've got our engineering company now, which has got their license in all 50 states. So if anybody has any concerns about permits and stuff, we can help them with that. We're also helping the dealers that sell our products with local advertising. We're hoping that we can bring some other services to that equation. We carry the warranty issues that they encounter with their customers. We handle them directly as the manufacturer. One, it helps us learn where they're having issues or if they're having issues with the product, so it's a continual ongoing improvement with the product. This upcoming year, like I say, we're now going to be bringing in the largest size we have, which is 60 wide. That helps us expand the business into other business or other markets. The aviators are looking at that because it's good for small aircraft. We actually, as a result of this show, we have an opportunity to work with a helicopter company up in Firebaugh and to try to cover a very large space for their production as a result of that. So with the hemp industry, with having quite a bit of visibility at this show, we've had a lot of conversations with people in that market. So overall, looking very optimistically, we have a very good aggressive growth over the past year. We're seeing about 10% growth a month over the last 8 months. And we basically tripled our business this January as compared to last January. So looking very optimistically, for 2020. There's some challenges out there, as there are in all markets, but we're prepared to meet them, and I think we'll have a good year.
Definitely. Well, thank you for that. That awesome.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, well, real quick before we end the interview, got to ask you, do you guys see any main, you've been talking about all the projects you've been working on, how much you guys have been growing, and you've been kind of one of the main suppliers for the product that you produce. Do you guys see any kind of competition in this market, and if so, how are you guys
Yeah.
different products?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. There's always competition in all markets and products. We have 2 or 3 domestically manufactured competitors, and they have excellent products. They have really good companies, and they've been in business a lot longer than we have. So it creates a healthy competitive environment. We have, by and large, I think we have a superior product because we pay closer attention to this market. And when I say this market, I mean the market that is associated with strictly containers. The other manufacturers have a much broader catalog of products, and they do standalone buildings and look at markets differently than we do. We stick strictly with the people that are privately held companies that are in the container business. We help really grow their business, and that helps us grow ours. So we have a different dynamic in the market than they do. They basically manufacture and provide very large building type of products, whereas we're actually helping other people grow their business. It's not directly our business, but we're helping them grow theirs. And reciprocal, we grow with them.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things I've noticed, probably most effectively about your company, I don't know much about the other competitors that you have, but you guys are very, very personable. Every interaction you guys have, you've been talking about projects you've been working on recently, just traveling all over, building these things everywhere you go, and it's just the dedication you guys have to your product is, I think, another contributing factor to kind of your ability to sell as much as you do.
Yeah, thanks. We appreciate that. One of the things that we like about this, the demographic that we look at is we know everybody we're doing business with, and we meet them. We come out as we do here, and we support them at the trade shows. We support them on a local level. We go out and train their people to put up our canopy so they're properly assembled. So that's really kind of the nice dynamic that we're in. Is we're kind of like one big family of a network of dealers, and we all have the same concerns and the same interests, which is to help each other grow our businesses. So it works out well.
Awesome. Well, do you have any more final comments before I?
No, we appreciate it. It's good to see you again this year. Yeah. We always enjoy your company, and your friends are good people, and it's been a good show. So we're looking forward to a good year.
All right. Well, thank you, Declan. It was a good interview.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
So we just got done with the Container Canopies interview, and those guys are, they're always great. I really don't have to even analyze their interview all that much because they're just, the best people. They're super good, to all of their customers and all of their clients, and they're just super great, to talk to. They're kind of like family. Everywhere you go, they're just, they're happy to see you and they're happy to help out. And their growth as a company is incredibly impressive. Their dedication to their product is impressive, and I couldn't recommend them more. If any of you, need your canopies or anything like that, then definitely go that route. They're good people. So I was excited to see them again. Speaking of people that are good support and always, willing to help out with everything that we do in this project, My Job Depends on Ag has their booth over here. We're going to go in here and see if we can catch Eric for a quick interview. Alright, so I'm here at the My Job Depends on Ag booth, and you guys should know who this guy is by now, Eric Wilson. He's been on a couple of my episodes, and I interviewed him last year, so I just came by to kind of check on how things are going. I know they've had a lot of growth since last year. Kind of want to talk a little bit about the the documentary, how the sales have been going, the page as a whole, kind of how you guys have grown as a community, however much you want to spell.
Yeah, so man, lots of changes over the last year. Got the American Grown My Job Depends on Ag PBS docuseries that came out, and this last fall, and that was about a year ago. Started filming on that, and that has been a really exciting project, man. It's crazy to think that 2 guys that just didn't really have a plan on anything other than just our passion for agriculture and end up morphed into this deal here. But it's that has been a real fun, just really kind of interesting how they put things together as far as that. A guy that's out in the fields all the time don't see how they put film together. So that's been an interesting thing. Also, the same producer is getting ready to start another important docuseries called Tapped Out 2, another water documentary that he did. First was Tapped Out. It's Tapped Out 2. And what's going to be really cool, well, it won't be cool in this respect, but when he did Tapped Out, we had that tremendously wet year, flooding everywhere, right? And right now, it's not looking too good with rain. So we're going to have maybe the contrast of what we did. We have all those images of all that rainfall and all that water from that year, contrasted to a year where we don't have much, and we can really talk about the missed opportunities from that year.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That's what it's going to be. So I want rain. Believe me, I want the rain and I want a lot of it. And but if we have a drier year, it would be really great to show the two things. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Jeff puts that together. So as far as our group is concerned, we got a new member here. Yours truly over here, Brendan.
Join the admin crew.
Yeah, I asked Brendan to join the admin crew. We needed some younger minds and people that are passionate about agriculture that we could trust to be there to manage the page. And it's just on a volunteer effort on his part. So looking forward to him and this what this next year does. So we're not going to hold him to a contract like he has to stick around forever. But it's great to come into contact with people like yourself, Brandon.
Yeah, no, I was more than happy to help, and getting that message is always nice to hear, because that kind of shows I've made an impact as someone who's passionate about agriculture. It's nice to know that that's being recognized.
Yeah, and sometimes the younger kids, they have a different feel for social media than us older fogies do. I'm not a boomer, but I know what boomers do to they're wrecking the internet sometimes, right? But so social media, as far as that part, it continues to grow. But I can tell you, at 5 years, it's a challenge. It's something that is difficult, and you'll probably see very soon. A lot of the controversies that take place behind the scenes, and how to deal with stuff. So one thing that I've been thinking about doing, as far as how we run the page, is getting youth involved more. And I've run this by you before, is to have like plant science departments at ag universities, whether it's Fresno State or Cal Poly or something, have a admin takeover day. They would moderate our page or for a week or a month. Allow them to see what's going on behind the scenes and see how maybe it would be maybe even better for marketing students, I don't know, in agriculture, to see what they're up against out there.
Some communications kids, something
Yeah,
like that.
right. So
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent idea. Gets new perspectives, and
Yeah.
kind of gets
Yeah.
some kids that have expertise in different areas to try to bring something new to the table.
Yeah.
I think there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
yeah. And as being an admin and getting content, being looked at as someone that people may be waiting on to what the admin are saying on a daily basis. Everybody that's volunteered in the past and has worked with us in the past, they've done such an awesome job of creating some content. But after you do it for 4 or 5 years, it can be hard to come up with content. You get a little writer block, you get a little taxing sometimes. So I've learned a lot though with the Facebook part of
Has being in charge of this page, being an admin, being involved with the documentary, working on this project over the past 5-6 years, has that changed your perspective on not only the consumer and how you interact with them, but just like the agricultural industry as a whole, our role and how we communicate?
There's been some good things that come over, but it's really, I think, in some ways, it demonstrates just how great our industry is in this respect. Is we have the opportunity to really nitpick at everything because we're well fed, and then when you're well fed, there's a lot of things to complain about other things. There's a lot of part, and it's I know for our civilization here in America, our people, it's probably very foreign for them to understand that most of the world's population spends half of their money on simply just trying to find something to eat. And so we're very fortunate. So those people, they're not too concerned about the things that our population is concerned about. There's a disconnect when you're struggling to feed yourself. And I think that, but because we have these first world problems, it demonstrates that agriculture has provided an opportunity for people to not think about what's for dinner, but they can think about what not to like about what's for dinner.
Yeah. No, I think that's an optimistic view on it.
Yeah.
We've got things so well off that people have things
Right.
to complain about. That's a good way of
Yeah. So most guys like I'm like, oh, I can't wait to eat, but now you get this food, and it's like, why is that in here, and how's this growing, and this, that, and that. There's a more opportunity, and I don't think that people realize that we're so fortunate that we have that affluence, which agriculture is a big part of creating that. It's like we're kind of created our own monster here,
Right.
in a lot of ways.
Which we see it as a bad thing in the terms of we have such a
Right.
disconnect.
Right.
I mean, really, it's not like you were saying. The fact that it's a problem means that we're doing a good job.
Yeah, I think that's how I try to remain positive. So I think about, okay, this is reasons why we're here, because we've done such a good job. People are well fed in our country, which is a good thing. I hate to see what hunger looks like. I don't want to know that. I don't want our people to experience that, And so, It is concerning, though, however, that the sheer numbers of people that are feeding people is going down in our country. So it's something that is alarming. And
See, we were talking recently when we were talking about the whole, adding more youth to the group game,
Yeah.
different perspectives. Do you see kind of what we were talking about as far as like trying to get more consumers involved in the page, getting more consumer conversations, getting more activity and that sort of thing?
It's so difficult because our nation's polarized right now. And I saw it happen when on My Job Depends on Ag on our Facebook page. We did a lot of people. We had a kind of a great movement starting at the beginning of people from all different political spectrums. But the election season and the election of Donald Trump, it really, really put people in different camps. And it's hard. I've always felt that agriculture should never be a right or left argument. Fundamentally, we all need to eat, and fundamentally, we all want clean, healthy, abundant, nutritious food. We have a starting point. Getting back to that starting part's been difficult because there's a lot of peripheral, noise out there. But and sometimes because of that, I guess with our Facebook page and social media, sometimes that appears to people who are on the outside, who may have had an open ear that think that this is just more of a political page, because sometimes I don't think people with our consumers. I would love to meet people who have had joined our page, and I come across them a few times that have joined the page and really been. I appreciate what you guys are doing. I have a very a more clear picture, clarity to what your concerns have been. I may not agree with you always on politics, but I agree that it makes sense for us to use this region here because it's nature's greenhouse in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And what we can do on a per acre basis here is just tremendous.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, with I recently was able to catch the first episode of the documentary, and it's just awesome.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah, it was super cool. So in that process of creating the documentary,
Yeah.
what part of that was like your favorite part of that whole production?
What's really cool about people that I hope a lot of people get this, the documentary, when Jeff approached us, we went out to, on my part, he went out to Dawes Palace and he says, hey, I just need to get some screenshots and a little bit of film so I can show potential sponsors of the show what it may look like. So he comes out, and I had no idea that I was going to be asked to speak a whole lot on stuff. I think it was going to be some short and sweet stuff, maybe about how our page got started, right? But then he's very smart, because I'm not one that likes to talk on camera a lot. We're not professional speakers, and or anything to that matter. So he just basically put a camera in my face and just talk about simple things that are from your heart, like how was your upbringing, your childhood, and whatnot. So those things are all right here. They come from here. They're in your brain and they're in your heart. And all of a sudden you realize after you start talking that now you're relaxed. You just spoke pretty well, and it was easy because it's something that you don't need to rehearse.
Right.
And I was feeling like I need to rehearse some of these things for the show. And what was crazy, you haven't seen the last one, but the last one is about why I love to farm. And he took some of the conversation I had then and made a show. I didn't even know I was going to be in the last one about why I love to farm. And it was really cool how he did it. It came together very well, and I didn't even know he was going to do that until he says, hey, give me some family photos and stuff for the last show. And so, yeah, it's been pretty cool.
Do you think having that personality, like the more personal messages in the show, is having a positive impact on how consumers are intaking the message?
I hope so, because one thing that I've learned over the years, or experienced personally, is if you're on an airplane, or you're at a dinner party, or at a wedding reception, or you go to your wife's high school reunion or something like that. These just examples of when you come in contact with people you may not really know. You sit down at the dinner and say, hey, what do you do? And someone says, I sell real estate. I'm in real estate. What do you do? Well, okay, they ask me, I farm. Or, what else? I farm and I own a custom agriculture spraying business. Oh, you spray? Well, what is that? What are you doing out there? So when I get done, they're curious, number one. Number two is when they hear firsthand information from me, oftentimes they walk away thankful. And I did not realize that was really what's going on out there. And when it's a personal level, they know it's not bought. I think a lot of it, people are just going to not listen because the idea that what's being shown to them is being paid for. So there's this sense of there's no believability in it because there's a name behind it, whether it's On some people, oh, it's Monsanto. Well, can't believe anything anybody has ever said if it has that, and vice versa, right? We can't believe anything that someone says about this issue because it's this name here. So I think on a personal level, remove all pretext of money and anything like that. It's just a simple conversation that resonates.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So I think my final question for you
Okay.
would be, do you see kind of, with your pursuits and with what I'm doing with some of the other groups, like the Harvest, for example,
Yeah.
do you see a bright future for, educating consumers,
I'm extremely positive that we can do this. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you see, this farm show is one of the things that always is crazy. You see kids coming that are in their FFA classes, and they come in, they're not, parents are farmers. I connect with those because my backstory is I wasn't a farmer, but they're curious and they're interested. And there was yesterday, some gals came from Southern California. They're never had any farm. They're ones in Orange County, and they're part of this business. First time at the ag show, and they got some stuff called Crop Spray. Crop Spray One. If you're around, you might want to go visit their booth because tell them they came in and talked to us. But just hearing their story and hear what they're up to, it's just pretty cool. Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
definitely agree.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
All right.
It's always nice to hear from you. Always a great message. I'm sure I'll be back next year again.
Right.
Another interview. Got
Right.
to keep the tradition going.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Absolutely.
For any of you that don't watch the documentary or aren't familiar with the page, make sure you go check it out.
Yeah,
It's an
please
awesome
do.
community. It's an awesome show. It's a great project you guys are working on.
Thank you.
Really happy to be part of it. So. All right, so we tried doing with the My Job Depends on Ag booth, and man, those guys are cool. They got such a good story and such a good message and project they're working on. It's always a pleasure to get to interact with those guys and hear their thoughts on the future of agriculture, the education of consumers, all the stuff that I've been working on for the past 2 years. It's just it's optimistic to see that they are doing such a good job of pushing that message just as strong and actually even stronger than a lot of other groups are. So yeah, I'm always happy to be part of their. All right, so I'm here at the Ag Pro booth, and they're here demonstrating their massive fan. So I was actually advised to come over here by the 5G consulting guys that I interviewed last year. So they're going to tell us a little about their product here.
Sure. So this is our Beast fan. We brought this to the industry to address maintenance and efficiency concerns that had been brought to us from our customers. The whole idea with the Beast fan is to do more air moving with less fans. When you do that, your efficiency goes up and your maintenance requirements go down.
So what's the cost of this thing look like?
Retail cost on this fan is about $9,500. One of these fans is about 2.5 to 3 of the competitors' fans, so we're right there with cost with them too.
So have you guys seen a lot of effective results in your changes in efficiency with the companies that are the dairies that are using these products?
Absolutely. We have really good reviews from our existing customers. The main comments from them is that it's very reliable. In some of these farms, they've had a lot of trouble with other fans, whereas the Beast fan has held up really well in harsh climates where you have 24/7 runtime. Downtime is a big deal because your barn loses overall efficiency with the air being sucked back in, the down fan. Also, just overall maintenance requirements so far as greasing and broken components and minor maintenance details have been really good for the farmers with the Beast fan.
Is there a massive difference in the use of electricity for this fan?
Absolutely. The Beast fan with its high efficiency, you can see the blades are an airfoil, the same way you'd see an airplane wing. They're also very strong with the bidirectionally woven fiberglass, so you have very good rigidity, very good cyclical fatigue, and overall efficiency goes up with these airfoil blades.
So, with other competitors of the same or similar product, do they have, a fan of this caliber in terms of size, or how are you guys competing with your competitors?
Well, currently this is the biggest exhaust fan on the market for cross-ventilated barns and tunnel-ventilated barns. You ask about energy efficiency. This fan is probably 25 to 30% more efficient than what you normally see in those barns. On average, in the state of Texas, with our electricity costs in the state of California, it's a little bit different. Y'all's costs are anywhere from three to 5 times more than what we see is energy costs in the state of Texas. But in the state of Texas, per 1 million CFM that we move, we will see about $10,000 in energy savings per year. So you do the math on that here in the state of California, that's a significant number.
So where do you guys see the future of this product going? Are you plan on making other fans of this same
Well, we are experimenting with different size fans, but the entire industry is going to end up going to more air control. Has been doing it for quite some time, but it's going to get more and more precise on air control with a tunnel vent or a cross vent barn. That gives you that. Exhaust fans are going to be what everyone's having to look at before it's over with in order to get that edge and to get more milk production as we go forward with the industry.
So, having come to California from Texas, do you see a massive difference in the markets in terms of how you would market these products?
Sure. What we've found is that farms all over the world are looking for increases in efficiency. So we've sold this fan on several continents, in many different countries. So not just here in the U.S. or even Texas to California. We've sold these in the Middle East. We look at some projects in Africa and elsewhere in the world. So efficiency and decreases in maintenance is not just a Texas or California thing. It's a global dairy thing for anyone that's trying to be efficient and make more money off their dairy.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions I have. If you guys have anything else you want to add about the product or your company as a whole?
We appreciate you having us, and let us know if you have any more questions.
I appreciate it, guys. You gave great answers. Thank you. All right, so back here at the Harvest booth, I interviewed this plant lady last year, and she's going to give us a little bit of presentation on the Harvest booth. Where they're going, just everything about what they've been doing lately.
Well, my name's Betty Doak. I'm national rep of Protect the Harvest. I do the outreach and project coordinator, activate the events. But we're here at the World Ag Expo, and we are seeing that every business here is affected by animal rights movement. So we would like to ask each one of you to reach out, like our Facebook page, share it, go to our website. We have educational materials as well. But everyone here needs to pay attention to what's going on, because they're coming after each one of us. If you're a cattleman, hog producer, consumer, they're coming after your pet. So educate yourself. Like I said, go to our website. We have educational resources. Thank you.
All right, so here at the Strauss Feeds booth with Dale here, he's going to tell us about his company, where he's been since last year and where he's going next.
Hey, Brendan. Yeah, thank you. Nice to be back here. We always enjoy visiting Tulare. It's a great expo. Good attendance this year. For us, a lot of quality customers coming through and getting a chance to visit with them.
So since I saw you last year, have you made any major improvements to the company? Have you guys, grown it all? Been working on any projects lately?
We really haven't done any major projects ourselves internally. We do have a couple we're planning in the future here, so it'll make an impact on our products and their functionality for the future.
Very nice. So why don't you give a quick description about your company, just in case anyone missed it from last year?
Sure. Strauss Feeds is a manufacturer of milk replacer products for animals. We're feeding dairy calves, beef calves, lambs, and kids.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So when you say you entirely dairy cattle, you guys mess with the goat industry at all too? Because you mentioned kids.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't mean yeah. Yeah. The animal kids. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So have you seen a major shift in your customer base in your market with the recent rise in the goat dairy industry?
We've had pretty good penetration in that market, quite honestly, from day one. So that market is significant for us and continues to be.
So how with other competitors in your industry, how are you guys? What product are you offering that's different than anyone else?
The big thing is our production process uses a cool agglomeration technique, so we're not subjecting our dairy proteins in particular to heat, so we're not damaging or denaturing those proteins. They're more digestible for the calf or whatever animal is consuming them.
Well, those were the questions I have off the top of my head. It's kind of a bit
Yes.
slow here. Is there anything else you want to add on your so far?
Ask that question again.
Is there anything else you'd like to add as far as your company goes? Anything you guys have any plans going on for the next year or so?
We're just looking forward to being back here again next year, Brendan. So promoting our products and developing our relationships with our customers and helping them succeed in their ventures.
Well, glad to hear it. Thank you.
Thanks, Brendan.
And there you have it. That's all the coverage I got for the 2020 World Ag Expo. Like I said, it's not nearly as much as I got last year, but I think it makes up for it in the quality. I got a lot of good interviews. I'm very optimistic and very excited about a lot of the information I learned, and I plan on following up with everyone I talked to and getting, follow-up episodes going. And even some of the companies that I didn't showcase with videos, I still talked to them privately and got their information. I definitely plan on doing follow-up episodes with them as well. So there's still a bright future for the agricultural industry side of things in terms of my episode showcases. So I'm going to be contacting those people as soon as I can and just start getting things lined up so we can get more information on it. One of the things I'm more excited about is, well, there's two big things that this year's expo really got me excited about. One of them is the future of agricultural production in terms of products, and the hemp thing is kind of what comes to mind with that first. Just bringing in new forms of agriculture is something that we don't really see a whole lot of in this capacity. I mean, obviously we see new advancements in agricultural production that change the game, but it's very rare we see basically all new ag industries just kind of flourish on their own, just kind of bloom like a plant. And so it's kind of cool to see that happen firsthand, and not only that, to see both sides of the equation here, trying to figure out how they feel about the other one. Because one of the things I noticed while being at the farm show was that a lot of the people from the hemp community, a lot of people from the ag community are kind of unsure how to feel about each other, but the more they interact, the more they start to realize they're not really all that different, which is really exciting and really optimistic and really just positive to see. So I'm excited about that. The other thing I'm excited about is something that Eric Wilson and I talked about a little bit in the interview we did with him, but also outside of the interview. I wish I could have gotten it recorded, but we were talking a lot about the future in consumer and agriculturalist relationships, and I'm very much optimistic about that as well. He makes a really fun point that I like a lot, and that's that the fact that people are complaining is a sure tell sign that we're doing a good job. Because if they have so many good things that they have something to complain about, then that must mean we've given them a lot of good things. And so it gives me optimism that there's a lot of people that are well fed, that they have safe food, that their food is easily accessible and it's cheap. And that's the job of the agriculturalist, is to make sure that their population is fed. And it seems to me that American agriculture is doing that very well. And the other thing I'm excited about is the potential for my product to actually do what it's intending to do, is educate consumers, bring consumers into the equation. And not saying that I specifically am doing a very effective job of that, because right now I'm kind of struggling in that department. But I mean, overall, as a concept, getting agricultural groups in communication with consumers on a more frequent basis and about more simplistic topics, rather than trying to berate them with all kinds of facts and figures about educational aspects of agriculture that they have no idea and no interest in learning about. And so seeing that communication becoming more and more civil and simple and easy to understand for both parties is extremely positive to see, and I'm super excited to see it. One of the things I was talking about with actually Zenith Ag Solutions, I had a long conversation with two of their employees, and I'm really happy I did. I wish I could have got an interview with them too, because they're very, very fun people to talk to. One of the things we're talking about is basically agriculturalists and consumers speak two entirely different languages. And the problem with our way of communicating right now is we're trying to teach them things in our language without even thinking about the fact that they don't understand our language. We have to speak to them in their language. We have to speak to them on terms that they're going to understand, they're going to relate to and associate with, and bring back to their own experience and lives and absorb and accept fully. If we don't do that, we've failed to present our message effectively. And on the opposite side of that, consumers have to ask us questions in our language. They have to understand what it is that we are looking at from the industrial and productive side of things, and understand all the processes and the hardships that we go through to produce those things. And in that context, ask us legitimate questions or raise legitimate concerns around educated fields of study, instead of just raising complaints about things that they read on Facebook or the first person they trust on a particular subject. Even the hemp guy was talking about that. Don't trust the first guy who confirms your thoughts. You have to listen to contradictory beliefs as to what your own are. That way you can get challenged and really understand your own beliefs better. In order to have a proper conversation between consumer and agriculturalists, we need to be speaking in the same language. Otherwise, we're not really making any ground now, are we? So those are the two big things I really took away from this year's expo, and I'm really optimistic now after having gone through all of those pleasant conversations today. I really am just geared up to go and talk to new consumers and not talk to new industry people and get both of them together and just have really effective conversations and really try to knock out this ag literacy thing in full force. So expect over the next few weeks a lot more ag advocacy stuff, a lot more consumer driven stuff. That's what I'm going to be working on like crazy as soon as I can. So thank all you so much for tuning in. And once again, I appreciate all the help and support and just feedback you guys always give me. I love hearing all the time that people enjoy the podcast, that they have a good time listening to them, that they learn a lot from them, or that they are surprised by some of the things I talk about, or it's all good. It's all good feedback to me. So I'm glad that I can provide. I mean, if nothing else, entertainment. But I'm glad I can provide education and information and different perspectives on varying issues for a lot of my audience. So that being said, I'd like to thank all of you so much for tuning in. Hope to see you next week, and don't forget, if you ate today, thank a farmer.